Hello, everyone. I'm Chad Anderson, founder and managing partner at Space Capital. What we like to do in our annual meetings is highlight some of the most important trends in the space economy. And what Amazon Web Services has done is obviously an important part of that trend, and what the company is doing now and will continue to do will have a significant impact in 2022 and beyond. And that's why I'm very excited to be speaking with Peter Marquez, head of space policy at AWS. Peter has degrees in political science and space policy from the George Washington University and has been an absolute powerhouse in space policy in the US and globally. He wrote the Space Resources Property Bill in 2015, a copy of which is actually hanging on our wall in the office. He's a consultant on the Netflix show Space Force. And all of this makes him uniquely qualified to help us understand what AWS is doing to structure, fuse, process, and store vast satellite data sets, as well as the partnerships and ecosystems that AWS is enabling. So, Peter, it's great to have you with us today. Thanks for joining us.
No, I really appreciate the invitation to be part of this, and it's really an honor to get to talk to this group as well, and really looking forward to the chat. And yes, I think a background in working on a comedy show is probably what's needed to work in the space business. So I appreciate that.
I love it. Okay, so Peter, can you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you ended up at Amazon?
Yeah, happy to do it, and I'll keep this part short because the only person who loves hearing about themselves is me. So I'll keep that part short. So most of my background early on was in the national security side. So worked special programs in Air Force and Office of the Secretary of Defense, headed up the Special Programs Office and the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Essentially, all the fun toys that we don't get to talk about were in my portfolio, which was great. And then went over to the White House and served for President Bush and President Obama as their space policy advisor. So did the 2010 U.S. national space policy, worked on a few other activities, and then spent some time in the commercial world, working with some companies, including a startup company that you know well. And also did some consulting work. I was called back into government service and actually helped finish the 2020 U.S. national space policy, working on the Space Council again. So I guess that's 3 administrations in a row. We'll see if this one calls. And then I got a call from AWS as I was doing my consulting work and working with some friends, and they said, "Hey, we're starting up a space business, and a group." I said, "That's great, but what is AWS doing in space? I've been in this for 20 something years. I don't know what you guys, I've never seen you before." And they started rattling off all the things that they're doing that nobody really knows about, that it's all in the background. And, I think this group that we're talking to today, I think uniquely understands starting and doing something on your own as I was doing in a consulting company, has a level of freedom in it that I was really enjoying, and kind of picking my own path and working with great customers and clients. And going and working for a very large corporation was not something that was particularly interesting. But as the more I talked to AWS, I realized that what I had been trying to do for 15 years at least was exactly what AWS was doing. And, I decided to pull up what I was doing under my own tent and go work for AWS, because to me, the future of space, at least in the near term, is going to be about data and knowledge. And that's exactly the game that AWS is in, and that's where I ended up. So I guess a little bit of a background there, and hopefully a good segue and lead in for you.
No, that's great. I mean, it's not been that long ago. I mean, I was reading, I think it was June 2020, Amazon and AWS really started to get involved in the space economy in a major way. I'm curious, how do you think about the market opportunity, and why is Amazon spending so much resource here?
Yeah, so I think it really just kind of comes down to the core business of what AWS does, right? I mean, providing the infrastructure and support to companies that are trying to do innovative and new things. And so that's the play for us, is that we want to do what we had been doing for things here on ground for all of our core web service activity, whether that is storage or compute or AI and ML and all the software capabilities, the cybersecurity capabilities, all these other things that we think we've done a pretty good job of. applying that to space. And there's lots of opportunities to apply it in the space programs, both commercial and government programs. And it was bringing those capabilities to the space community. And in the past 2 years, it has been a game changer. I mean, the amount of work that AWS is already doing with some people, whether that be in Africa or NASA or many other places, now putting it all together in one focused group to talk about the utility of the data and bringing capabilities so that one or two smart people in a garage in the middle of nowhere can come up with an idea and the next day be a global company because they've sitting on an infrastructure platform with a bunch of capability in it. And now they're a global space company. I mean, that's not anything, even when I started in this back, late 90s, it didn't happen. Like, no, there was huge CapEx, there was huge infrastructure costs, all these things to just get going. And now it's literally clicks of a button and you've got a space business. It's amazing what we're doing.
And it's pretty clear that you're trying to build, you're not trying to build all of this yourselves. You're working with partners and looking for others, with the goal to get data onto your cloud. Is that true? And what is your approach to ecosystem building and partnership?
Yeah, so for the space thesis for us, it's really no different than any other part of AWS. If somebody needs infrastructure for data, be that storage or compute, and have it be flexible and scalable and be affordable, that's where we fit in. And so when it comes to partnerships, I guess in many ways, it's like, I don't know if I think some of the people on this video will remember the old BASF commercials. We don't make the things that you use, we make them better. You may not see AWS in the end product that you're buying from a Capella or that you're buying from, an ISI or somebody else, but we're there in the background helping get that data there, whether it is a JPL or it's a Satellogic or somebody else. We're there in the background helping get that data and knowledge to where it needs to be. And for us, that's our bread and butter. And if somebody doesn't have to expend the CapEx on a data center and building all their own software tools and can focus on the product and focus on the service, it's a win for them as well. So we're happy to partner with anybody in this business, be it governments or commercial entities, and we've done it all over the world.
That's great. So earlier this year, we published the SATCOM Playbook, an investment thesis for ubiquitous connectivity in a future where every person, device, and object on the planet is connected. And Amazon featured pretty prominently in that report with regards to Kuiper. There's going to be a lot of capacity coming online in the next few years. You just bought up most of the world's satellite launch capacity to launch over 3,000 satellites. What can you tell us about Amazon's approach and how it's different from other SATCOM providers?
So I need to be careful here about this. So AWS sits in its own part of the Amazon family. Interestingly enough, Project Kuiper is not with the space group in AWS. Project Kuiper sits on our commercial side and actually resides in the same organization as Kindle or Alexa or any of those devices. So there's a division there. Now, I have to be careful about speaking on behalf of Kuiper. What I will tell you is that Kuiper's planned capabilities for the global deployment and then tying in back-end capabilities for the cloud capacity that AWS has, it's a game changer. I mean, being able to communicate is exceedingly important, but being able to share knowledge and processed information at any place in the world within milliseconds, I mean, I don't think we even know what to do with that capability yet. It's almost like Internet 2.0 to me, if there's such a, I don't want to reuse the phrase, but I don't think we've completely grokked what we've unlocked here with this capability. And I did not mean to make that rhyme at all. So I apologize for that.
So I didn't expect you to give away too many details. Amazon's been working on this in the background, and really this launch contract was one of the first signals that we've seen publicly of what's happening and the time scale that you're working on. But I'm curious. I mean, because we are investing in companies benefiting from ubiquitous connectivity and the types of capability that Kuiper is bringing online. So I'm just curious. maybe this one is one that you can talk to, is the idea to grow existing Amazon and AWS markets or expand into new ones?
I think it's a little bit of both, and I think there's a third one, right? So again, because we are in the background, our goal is to make our customers achieve whatever it is they want to achieve. So, you take an example of one of our customers, Descartes Labs. Descartes Labs says that they currently collect, I think, about 3 million square kilometers of information a day. They're saying that in about 5 years, that collection is going to increase to 30 billion kilometers a day. That is a ton of data. What I will tell you is that currently, and again, I came from the national security community, I can tell you how many images the intelligence community throws away every day because A, it doesn't have the capacity to analyze, or B, it's a picture of a cloud. It doesn't really tell a relevant piece of information. So what we're seeing is we want to take our existing capabilities and bring them to as many customers as we can to help grow their capacity. Kuiper is going to bring online just amazing global bandwidth and connectivity everywhere. But then on top of that, we're going to have to grow with our customers to meet this 3 million to 3 billion change in square kilometer collection. And this is happening everywhere. I think we had Satellogic told us that currently they're in the area of like 50 gigabytes of data a day that they use, and they're projecting pretty soon that they'll have 1.5 terabytes a day of data. All that data has to be processed. And so I think one thing for you and your group is there's data collectors and then there's data analysts. And I think as you look through, there is going to be an abundance of data. What can be done with that data to provide knowledge, to tell a story that we can't currently tell right now? And is it agriculture? Is it shipping? Is it oil and gas? Is it energy? The answer is yes. It's all of these things. And so what we want to do is find these new markets that none of us even can think about now because we haven't unlocked that potential. And that's what AWS is trying to do, is unlock that potential through all the infrastructure capability to allow smart people like your investors are looking for to build smart things on top of these capabilities.
Okay, great. I mean, I definitely wanted to get into this. So satellite technology is rapidly improving, but so is cloud technology. And when you bring these two things together, it's really, really powerful. I'm curious. I mean, in a short time span, we've gone from a relatively small amount of data to massive amounts of data, and like you said, it's growing exponentially.
Yeah.
What are some of the current challenges of cloud computing, geospatial analytics, and how does AWS help solve them? Like, what are some of the bottlenecks?
Yeah. So so there's no current bottlenecks in the infrastructure part, right? I mean, we can handle the data, and we can handle getting the data in, and we can handle getting data out. Where I think there is a need in the market is for people to build on top of that capability to make sense of that data. Our job is to make sure that people are able to compute, to analyze, to run through the data, to process it securely, to get it to an end customer securely, to help them in all these things that we do, and to do it affordably and continue to innovate and produce software tools and other capabilities for them on their behalf. But we aren't in the business of going and creating the new businesses that will analyze the data, that will provide the knowledge to the end user. There is just way too much business there for us to get into. Plus, that's not our core business line. We want to be in the background providing the services to smart, inventive, industrious people who are going to look at the data. And that's where I see the bottleneck. The bottleneck is on making use and making value out of all this capability that's coming online, that if we don't make value of it, it's just going to sit in a dumpster, a figurative and maybe sometimes literal dumpster. That's opportunity that's being thrown away. And I would hate to see that.
And that's such a huge piece of what AWS has done for the space economy generally, is that there was so much complexity and it was so difficult to get access to this data. And you've removed a lot of that complexity and just made it really easy for the tech community, the people who are building the applications, who have the relationships with end customers. You made it really easy for them to tap into this really valuable data set. So I'm curious, well, where do we go from here? How does AWS think about the future of geospatial intelligence? What are the interesting applications that you're seeing? What's the end game for AWS in the space economy?
Yeah, so I think it's probably better to give you an example because we think through that every single day. And recently we had an opportunity to go ahead and press the test button to see what was truly capable, utilizing both data, modeling, AI, ML, cloud infrastructure, and software data integration tools, right? So we wanted to see what could happen if we took all of the ingredients and put them into the pot. What kind of soup could we make out of this? Is this something somebody would want to eat? And so back, in November, we had a situation where there was a bunch of debris created on orbit, and I called a few friends in the industry and said, "Hey, did you collect any imagery about debris up in space?" And they said, "Yeah, we did." And so I called a few other companies that had done collection of things on the ground. I said, "Were you collecting anything on the ground when when this event happened?" They said, "Yeah, we did." But our data is set up a certain way, and the other people's data is set up a different way. We don't really have any real way to get all of this data to talk to each other. And that
Right.
had always actually been the problem on the national security side as well when I was there. That you would get a piece of data coming from a radar, from optical, whatever. Integrating all that data, just integrating it was always a very difficult thing to do. We decided to up the difficulty level and see if we could build a time machine. And what we wanted to do was take the data and integrate all the data and find a way to both roll back the clock and see if we could see anything on the ground in space that would give us an indicator of something happening. And then roll the clock to the present time to see what was happening in space with debris and see if there was any indications of things that had been happening both in RF as well as on the ground. And then we would apply models and other things to the data and roll the clock forward in time to see what's going to happen in the future because of the debris, as well as see if we can roll forward and get indications, a correlation between if something happens on the ground, then this is going to happen in space.
Mhm.
So we got a bunch of data provider companies together. We got a company that does amazing software integration capability, companies that did space modeling, and we put everybody on an AWS platform and said, let's see what comes out the other end. And in 10 days, the time machine was built. We have a demonstration product that integrated all of the SSA capability, integrated GeoInt capability. We accidentally built a GeoInt platform as well. And in addition to that, we were able to put in modeling and all source data capabilities so that we can collect and integrate everything on the electromagnetic spectrum. I just don't mean like radar and optical. I mean tweets. I mean TikTok videos. I mean website changes. I mean change detection on the ground. I mean RF between communications. We were able to test out that it could suck in everything and at the end produce an actual useful product that if a 4-star clicked on a button at the end and said, is this something I need to worry about? The system could tell you, there's going to be a problem coming up, or the probability is this. So it was real actionable knowledge integrated from a disparate number of sources. And because it was all running in a secure environment on AWS, all these customers had their capabilities working together to tell a more valuable story in the end. It was one of those situations where 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 ended up equaling 100 with what we got out of it. Again, so it's an example of what happened when we were able to take all these different really powerful pieces of the space community and finally put them together riding on a cloud platform with the right tools involved.
That is wild. And so
Yeah.
this is really, kind of bringing the whole conversation together here, because you're providing the platform and you're working with a lot of different data providers. They're all selling their data. They have a channel through you to sell their data to customers, and everybody's benefiting from this. And at the same time, it kind of shows how your you're thinking about things, and I think where AWS will end up, right? I mean, this is this is the end game. Then, I mean, in terms of structure and how this thing is set up, is AWS being the platform for removing the complexity, allowing things to seamlessly work together, to take in different data sources, and to have this insane capability come out the other end.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's, let me just go back a little bit. So, the partners, the other companies that were involved in this, they saw the value in seeing, can we derive more value out of this together? And then in addition, one thing I failed to mention is in this demonstration, we were able to prove that in different situations, some data is more valuable than other data. And through that, what we were able to prove was that, okay, in this situation, if something happens, I may need more SAR data. So I can go back into the system, and now I can go back in and ping a SAR satellite to go and collect more data. So the system actually, instead of just being a time machine, turned into almost a central nervous system where I could go in and collect and ask for more things. So as you're looking at it from a company standpoint, because of this platform, we're now actually driving more business and more revenue to these companies from customers that would have never even known to click the buy button. That's what we're trying to do with this project, is prove that you can get knowledge out of a service.
I love that. I mean, look, we could go on for hours, I'm sure. I mean, time machine, AWS is powering the rovers on Mars. You're involved in the orbital reef, commercial space station project. I mean, we could go on and on and on here, but unfortunately, we're out of time. Peter, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation.
No, I appreciate it. And really, I appreciate the opportunity. And if there's anything that the group wants to follow up on, happy to talk to you all and see where we can be helpful. Our goal is to try to help companies large and small succeed no matter what stage they're at. So I can't thank you enough for this opportunity, Chad. It's great to see you as well.